Welcome to Millenia. Be ye man, woman, child, spirit, creature, dimahan. Be ye a native, migrator, or maybe even an invader into lands. I will welcome you, for I am your host, this Millennium Mailman, today. And as we proceed onward with a funny guy Friday, I'm gonna try and be a little comedic, probably more dark humor, because again we're talking about schizophrenic and psychopaths during the devil's advocate hot take to finish up and close out. It is week 9 devil's advocate, and I'm more so trying to just finish the discussion more than I actually am trying to be funny. So if I don't say it funnily, I do apologize. The devil's advocate intel sharing takes a cut on the priority scale. I do apologize. But yeah, I'm your host, the Millennium Mailman, and I'll be world building for you long after you begin to acclimate and fit in. So go ahead, sit back, relax, and enjoy your Funny Guy Friday discussion here. But yes, it is week 9 with the Devil's Advocate, with the main topic of discussion being, what if psychopaths and schizophrenics aren't actually dumb or slow? What if they're inherently the smartest, biggest IQ individuals that you could possibly come across and find in the real world? What if these psychopaths, schizophrenics, and sociopaths are just overly compartmentalized, a bit too overly well put together, and their overly compartmentalization in their minds? What if they're so overly compartmentalized it actually works against them? Maybe they just compartmentalize a bit too well, one might say, right? Because the mind itself is like a mixed bag of complexity that needs constant balance of up, down, left, right for anyone to be able to function better than a vegetable. Right? So these guys, be they sociopaths, psychopaths, and schizophrenics, these guys are all too smart for their own good. And that's to say, that fact that they are too smart for their own good thus makes finding their moral compasses and boundaries harder to get access to, making it so that those boundaries and compasses are overlooked, and other social functionalities attributed to them and their mental condition makes it less or overly important to them. And by it, I'm referring to the social functionability they have with the rest of the world. And compatibility, there's no M in these words, capabilities and competence. Who's hungry in my house? No one's hungry. Let me make food. But yes, there is that compatibility and competence, this part of the discussion as well, where when effectively most of the time when your capabilities are less than how competent you are, you generally get labeled as insane, or being insane, doing insane stuff, and so on and so forth. And when your competence is less than what you're capable of doing, you are someone's like best, or at least someone's favorite somethings. They're like favorite smooth operator. You can start to be considered a specialist of sorts. But when your competence and your capabilities are level with one another, you tend to be the most reliable specialist of whatever we're talking about. Be you in the mind, be you in the body, be you at work, be you at home. When your capabilities match your competence level and you are fully functionally able to follow through with the things you're thinking and considering and doing and actively pursuing, when your competence is equal to your capabilities, you are the most reliable specialist of whatever this is, be it family building, be it homemaking, be it being a manager, right? Because you are the reliable specialist, and reliable specialists tend to be the most favored people and types of people that get into leadership and so on and so forth. They are the favorite and most voted individuals for the leadership roles because they are the reliable specialist. May not be the best person who could ever do it, but they are the most reliable, and a lot of people, let alone entrepreneurs, would take reliability over high risk capabilities. Or there's potential, the potential is there, but you could lose. No. I want the reliable specialist, and I want that potential capable person to be under the reliable guy, because the reliable guy will make up for the risk factor that the less competent but plenty capable person would attribute and have. Right? That was the first discussion. That was everything that needed to be articulated in video number 1 that I didn't. Point number 2, I got 2 more points. Point number 2 here, it's a little paragraph, so I'm going to read it through and then talk about it. Method actors are prime examples to this. Some lose themselves in mansions and their mind for getting into character. They lose their true main self-identity for the variations of the compartmentalized, temporary aspects of concepts and ideals of who they embodied in order to understand or represent. And this comes from that whole integratory aspect where I made an analogy to what kind of mindset, for the sake of this discussion, psychopaths and schizophrenics. Psychopaths and schizophrenics tend to be a part of. So if you think of the mind as a mixed bag of complexity, trying to constantly have balance, in a regular house, it doesn't have to be a mansion, but for the sake of more rooms and stuff, I just said a mansion. But it could be any building, any structure. Most rooms have lights. Most room has air conditioning, so on and so forth. Most rooms have walls, floors, ceilings, and windows. In a psychopath or schizophrenic's house, they are so well put together in their compartmentalization. All the air vents will go into this one room. All the lights will be in another room. All the walls will wall in the wall room. And all the floors and ceilings, there. So for psychopaths and schizophrenics, to different degrees, of course, they're going to overly compartmentalize certain things in certain areas that develop into what would be considered a imbalance that leads to their condition. Where I made the example of like paint or just whatever it is, like schizophrenics. I'm pretty sure I mainly targeted schizophrenics in the analogy I made a separate video for, where, say, schizophrenics, they put all of the air vents in one room and all the windows in another, where you could have your visual schizophrenics, or you could have your auditory schizophrenics, where they're seeing stuff that isn't there. Well, that's because so long as they want to find any balance or participate in something that includes regulated air, regulated air in their building, they have to go to the one room, or at least be somewhere near it. But so long as they do go near it, they get the air conditioning all at once. So people who tend to hear things in order to tap into their ears in the present time, they have to go near that room full of all the voices, because that's what they do with all voices, and their present, and their which becomes their past. All the past voices they heard before, they go in that room. They can technically be selective hearers, but generally they can't help it, because the moment they choose to hear things, it's all coming out at once. The door's open, but I can't shut it because I need to listen to this person talking to me. Otherwise, wait, what were you talking about? Because I just heard the demons talking beside you. Right? And you could make the same thing vice versa, where the room full of lights would be, or windows, is people trying to see, where schizophrenics that see things that aren't actually really there. Oh my God. I've never seen a face like that before, but it's terrifying me. Well, you probably have. It might be a Frankenstein face of things you've seen before on faces. Like it might have this one person's nose and that one person's hair and that one person this and this one person's that and that movie this and that comic that. Because even in dreams, your dreams are amalgamations of things you could imagine or things you've seen before, and your mind's just putting them together in awesome creative waves to mix stuff and make life make sense or more interesting. But to the schizophrenic perspective, when you make dreams, even when you dream, if something new pops up, your mind is, because of particular imbalances, your mind is going to compartmentalize this thing you haven't ever really seen before, but have seen and has appeared in your dreams. It's going to put it in that room. So the next time you go open that room to go look out the windows and see through your eyes in the present time, you're seeing that past or mental created future of a face that is just terrifying you, that you other people when they wake up forget about. But because this thing that was in your dreams that your mind amalgamated together and never dismantled, it's like, oh my God, it's haunting me now. It's a demon. it's evil. So when this little passage paragraph here talks about how method actors are prime examples of the mansion example of how the mind works, it's more so that they are examples of people getting lost in their minds, or more psychopaths and schizophrenics overly compartmentalize all of one type of thing into the particular rooms. Method actors get lost in the hallway or lost in their own guest rooms because they have a big mansion. So they have their room, they have the living room, they have all the common areas and normal stuff, right? Method actors, they're really good at setting up guest rooms, setting up extra rooms. So they set up extra rooms in order to get into character and embody this image of representation, which is meant and expected to be for the temporary, so that they can act out this role and get into character. They're good at setting up the guest rooms and being able to live out of it functionally and live out of it what would be considered normal. But there are plenty of method actors who have gone insane because while they are plenty capable and competent, they were a bit less capable of being able to disassociate from the character. And occasionally it's particularly the character they were trying to embody, right? But they were less capable of fulfilling this role and embodying it without being corrupted by it and getting lost in the sauce, being lost in the room and forgetting this room that you made, and you made very well. This room is temporary. You still got to leave this room to sleep in your room for real, and you got to be able to leave this room and spend most of your day in the living room and the other common spaces where all of the life is happening. No, you want to stay in this room? Oh, you have a gun. I don't know where you got that gun. I'm going to let you stay in that room because I don't want you to burn the house down. I don't want you to take any of those devices near the sensitive stuff. And you have a fork and you have a million outlets in this room. I'm leaving. All the rest of the moral compasses are leaving with me out of that front door. We're gone. Right? So that's what I mean to say when I say method actors are a great example of this. This is in reference to the analogy of the mansion and how complex the mind works. Some people's houses are just so big they get lost in it. Some people's rooms are just so phenomenal they skip and forego living in their own master bedrooms for the lavish guest rooms they set up and stuff. And then you have other people with their own houses or mansions that just overly compartmentalized to a degree that makes it relatively impossible for them to be functional members of society outside of their rooms because of the way they chose to make their insides. But yeah, that's that mental imbalance. And then again, I have one last point here. I'm going to read it fully through and then we'll dissect it. Everyone who's too low IQ for their age, ability, and etc. is labeled slow, incompetent, problematic, and mentally diseased and disabled. Everyone closely matching their IQ for their capabilities are specialist genius, occasionally considered slow, but generally average, normal, and such. Everyone who is too overly big brain IQ'd for their functionalities are mentally challenged, bizarre, problematic, and mentally deranged. Let's get into it. Everyone who is too low IQ for their age, ability, and etc. is labeled incompetent, problematic, and mentally diseased or disabled. Everyone too low IQ for their age, ability, and etc. is considered incompetent, problematic, mentally diseased, and disabled. So, when you are less smart than where you need to be, you are socially shunned, right? If you're behind, you got held back. Look at this loser. If you are not keeping up or you're faring well, he's slow. That's going to be my problem child there, bringing down the whole class's average. But to a certain degree, if you are overly slow, it's like, okay, he needs a special class. Give him the short bus. It's like, that shouldn't be an insult, but okay, right? If you are too low IQ for your age, ability, and etc., you get labeled those 3-4 things. You are rather incompetent. He's gonna be problematic. Oh by golly, he must be mentally challenged and diseased because he is that far behind. He is that incapable on the mental level, right? The second aspect is when you're generally closely matching your IQ with your capabilities. Where again, that first one was where your IQ is low. It doesn't really mention your capabilities, just more so that IQ, how smart you are. Here in the second one, it is bringing in the capabilities into this discussional aspect where so long as your IQ it matches like your capabilities, where your physical expectation, be it your age, your capacity, and etc. Like you're a man, you're a woman, you're whatever. Your age, your capacity, and other stuff. So long as your IQ, it meets closely to what the expectation is for you, you are considered, you can easily be considered a specialist, maybe even a genius, but very rarely when you're just meeting the two do you get considered slow unless you're taking your time, right? Because you have the always have the choice that when your capabilities match how intelligent you are, you have the choice to take your time or go faster because you are capable, right? But generally, you are seen as average, normal, and so on and so forth because you match your level. You match. You're not behind like those who are less smart and deemed very, very low for their age range or whatever. You have the luxury of being seen as slow, average, or a genius because your level matches what you're capable for. But if you're beneath that, if you are extremely disproportionate in your intelligence to where you're capable of, that is mentally deranged. No, not deranged. It's mentally disabled. It must be diseased. Vice, if you're overly smart for what you're capable for, you tend to get labeled mentally deranged because there is a difference in the words. Where if you're too smart, you might be deranged, you're going to be considered an outcast, like most of the Renaissance individuals were, ahead of their time. When you are too smart, you are considered deranged, bizarre, challenged, and again, problematic. If you are too smart or if you're too dumb, you are problematic because everyone fears what they don't understand. That's a real thing. Everyone fears what they don't understand, and if I don't understand you because you are too dumb, I fear for the future. And if I don't understand you because you are too smart for me, I just want you out of my face. If I can recognize because you're smarter than me, I just want you out of my face. Great, great, great. Cool, you're smart. But if I don't know you're smarter than me, he doesn't even understand how the planet's square. The planet is round. Telling you, this guy is so dense, he's insane. Actually, the planet is flat. It's like whatever helps you guys sleep at night, right? But bizarre, right? That is all the points I have in this discussion for the Devil's Advocate. So glad I could make it through in under an hour. But yes, that has been week 9. What if psychopaths and schizophrenics aren't dumb or slow? What if they're inherently the smartest, biggest brained, IQ'd individuals you could possibly find out here in the real world? What if they're just probably compartmentalizing a bit too well? Because the mind itself is a mixed bag of complexity needing constant balance of up, down, left, and right in order for us to be more functioning than, per se, a vegetable. But hey, that's just me, your Millennium Mailman here today. Millennium Mailman here today. That's the news and intel I had to share with you from your beloved Devil's Advocate favorite, and so on and so forth. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you feel like it. And if you don't, dislike the video, but by all means, always comment down in that comment section down below to get the discussions rolling. Peace.